Well, good evening, everyone. You're looking at a live view of the night sky as we await the peak of the annual Geminid Meteor Shower. My name is Kyle. I'm with High Point Scientific, and those views are being provided to you by Tegan in Cincinnati, Ohio, who has, once again, graciously donated his time to provide you these views. Tonight I'll be taking your questions about the Geminid Meteor Shower, how to spot them, as well as other questions about astronomy and the nighttime sky. And if you'd like your question to be answered on YouTube, please add us at High Point Scientific and we'll be able to answer them. We'll also be answering questions on Facebook as well as they come up. I will say while we were setting up, I did see 2 or 3 little Geminids pop by. And you can clearly see the constellation of Orion the Hunter rising above the tree line there, looking absolutely beautiful. Orion is, of course, the most prominent constellation in the winter evening skies. Now, before we get started, I'd like you to take the time, if you're watching on Facebook, to share this feed with your friend and family, and if you're watching on YouTube, to hit that like button and to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out a lot. That helps boost the algorithms in our favor a little bit. We want to get people excited about the nighttime sky, and by doing so, we help raise visibility to these streams. We have a question coming in from YouTube from Speckled Bird, and they're asking, which direction should I be looking at? Well, the radial point is coming from the constellation of Gemini. That being said, that isn't exactly where they're originating from. You should be able to see them across the entire sky, but they're up now. I see we have 100 people checking in on Facebook, and we have about 34 on YouTube. Welcome everybody to our stream. Let's talk a little bit about our setup tonight. Tegan is using a Sony a7 III camera with a 28mm f2.8 lens to provide you these views. Unfortunately, we're being challenged with a little bit of a problem tonight: the moon. The bright glare from our nearest neighbor is unfortunately going to be blocking many of the meteors tonight. That being said, we're hoping to glimpse at least a couple. And in the chat, as you see one, feel free to shout them out in the comments. Another question from YouTube, and they're asking, how are you shooting, short or fast exposures? We're shooting really short exposures, and as a consequence, we've had to ramp up the ISO quite a bit, but hopefully as a result, we should be able to see those little meteors shooting across the sky. Now, one thing I love to do during these streams is I love to get an idea where everybody's watching from. So feel free to in the chat, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and if you're outside watching the meteor shower tonight. And again, this is the Geminid Meteor Shower. I see we have Wendy checking in from Medicine Hat, Alberta. We have Chip from Columbia, Missouri. Debbie from East Tennessee. Kevin from Florence, Colorado. We have David from Long Island, New York. So amazing to see so many people from across the United States and the world checking in to see this live stream. We have Barbara checking in from Winnipeg. From the Big Island in Hawaii. Wow. David's asking a great question. They want to know, will we see Comet Leonard tonight? And that's a great question. And unfortunately, the answer is no. Comet Leonard has not risen yet. And to be frank, we were debating on whether or not we should even live stream the comet, but we ultimately decided not to because the comet simply is just not performing as expected. It is only a fraction of the size of Comet Neowise last year, and Comet Neowise paled in comparison to some of the greater comets like Hale-Bopp and so on and so forth. So ultimately, we made the decision not to live stream Comet Leonard and instead decided to bring you live views of the Geminid Meteor Shower. Keith on YouTube checking in from Sarasota, Florida. And again, if you're just tuning in, we're watching a live view of the Geminid Meteor Shower. Feel free in the comments to ask any questions about astronomy or the nighttime sky, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. We have Gerald, I believe your name's Gerald. They're saying, it's morning here in the Philippines, so the best choice was online. Plus we have a typhoon here, so yeah. I can relate to the typhoon part. I live in South Florida, and we have tons of hurricanes here. Oh, there was one. Did you guys see it? In the corner there. That was cool. And there was another one. We have Lorianne asking on YouTube, is this viewable in South Florida? And it absolutely is. As a matter of fact, I live in Florida, and if I were not live streaming this, I would be outside at a dark sky site with my binoculars watching this happen. Now, if you're wondering how to see the Geminids for yourself, they're very easy to spot. The radial point appears to be in the constellation of Gemini, the twins. The zenith hour maximum, or the number of meteors you can see per hour, will be 125. Gemini can easily be spotted rising in the east after sunset not far away from Orion the Hunter, which you can clearly see here in the field of view. However, this does not mean the most amount of meteors will be visible in the constellation of Gemini, just that they will be appearing to originate from Gemini. That's why we pointed our camera virtually straight up, as we believe we may maximize our chances of seeing shooting stars. So you've seen them earlier, they've gone through Orion, they've gone through Gemini, they've been all over the place. I just saw one fly past Orion there. We have David in the chat, and they're wanting to know, will this be visible tomorrow too? And yes, it will be. Although the peak is tonight, they will be visible for most of the week. Tonight is where you're most likely to see the maximum, though. And we've already seen 4 or 5, and the stream's only been live for 10 minutes. We have Nikki checking in from Austin, Texas, and they're saying they have full cloud cover tonight. I'm so sorry to hear that. Robbie wanting to know, is this a wide-angle tracked live stream? And it is not tracked, but it is live. This is on a tripod, just pointed up in the stars. You can clearly watch during the live stream the constellation of Orion rise in the sky a little bit. Also starting to notice a little bit of cloud rolling in here, so that may hamper our view a little bit. Fingers crossed. If you've noticed Orion's gotten a little bit hazier, that is because there is a very high level altitude cloud starting to roll in. Let's hope that they're able to not totally mess up our view tonight. And again, if you're tuning in, we're looking at a live view of the Geminid Meteor Shower. If you're watching on YouTube, because I'm starting to see a spike in our people watching on YouTube, feel free to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you like this type of content. It really means a lot to us, and we love getting the word out there about astronomy in the nighttime sky. It's what we're here to do. It also helps boost the algorithm a little bit, so that way more people can see the stream. And when more people can see the stream, more people who otherwise might not have the opportunity to do so will be able to see the Geminids tonight. Susan wanting to know, do you get better results using a reflector or a refractor for objects like this? And that's a good question. Technically this is a refractor, but this is a camera lens, so your best results are going to be with a low focal length camera lens. Again, this is a 28mm f2.8, and it is providing pretty good views tonight. And that is a plane going through the field of view right now. So if you're thinking that's a slow moving shooting star, that is a plane. You can very clearly see the hazard lights on. Or excuse me, not hazard lights, the navigation lights. David wanting to know, can the Hubble telescope see any of this? The Hubble is not designed to look at fast-moving objects. The Hubble is designed to take long exposures of fixed objects in the nighttime sky. David also asking, constellation-wise, I think I see the Iron Giant, one of my favorites. Jeff with a great pun, and they're just saying that's just a plain old meteor. Dad jokes, I love them. Scott wanting to know, is there a best direction to view? Generally speaking, the best direction is going to be east and straight up. For the question earlier about the Bortle scale, this is a Bortle scale 7, so not completely swamped out with light pollution, but not the best. So if you have just the same, if you live in a suburban location, you should be able to see a view of the sky like this, provided you don't have any lights on. Go outside, take a look at the sky, and take this opportunity, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, to go out there and just experience this beautiful celestial event. You get them every year, but every year they're just as beautiful to me. The stream does not do it justice. Go out there in person, look up in the sky, and observe the beautiful meteor shower tonight. David wanting to know, is there a peak in activity or is it a steady progression? There is a peak in activity. It occurs over the span of roughly 2-3 hours tonight around 2 or 3 in the morning. We won't be live that long. We'll be live for probably another hour or so. Donald wanting to know, does this pose any greater danger to the International Space Station? And while this meteor shower does not provide any significant danger to the International Space Station, no more than any other day on orbit, there is a significant threat to the space station by a growing threat of space debris, which is becoming a huge problem. Just recently, there was a satellite that was shot down in orbit around the Earth, and that satellite caused a ton of debris that actually threatened the astronauts on the space station. They had to get in their spacesuits, go back inside their SpaceX capsule, and get ready to possibly undock had that been a problem. So, to answer your question, while this does not pose any greater threat to the space station, the threats to the space station are growing every day. And unfortunately, almost entirely due to man-made objects. Geoffnash, excuse me if I mispronounce your name by the way, they're asking what comet's dust this is, and that's a great question. It's a great segue into my next part of this live stream, where I'm going to talk a little bit about what actually causing this meteor shower. So to answer that question, the Geminid Meteor Shower is one of the brightest meteor showers of the year. They originate from the Apollo asteroid 3200 Phaethon, cannot pronounce that for the life of me, and were first observed in the year 1862. And I've actually created an animation of Phaethon and what it looks like. That's the one I'm looking for. Here is a simulation of that asteroid, not a comet, that actually created these meteor showers tonight. Phaethon is unique in that it's not actually a comet, or at least it's not currently a comet. but an asteroid with a highly elliptical orbit. Most meteor showers are actually from comets, which makes Phaethon unique. As Earth travels about the Sun, we cross paths with where Phaethon traveled, which is filled with debris from the asteroid. Those pebble-sized debris enter the Earth's atmosphere at over 35 kilometers per second, incredibly fast, by the way, resulting in blazing meteors in the sky. And these tend to appear yellowish in hue, although from my observations, they tend to be more white. And here's a simulation of the asteroid's orbit about the Sun. You can clearly see the points where it intersects the Earth's orbit, reaches its perihelion point with the Sun, and then quickly swings out just like a comet. As a matter of fact, like I said, astronomers are pretty confident that Phaethon was at one point a comet, but was stripped of its volatiles due to many close interactions with the Sun. So a bit of a longer explanation I bet you were expecting, but that is how this meteor shower comes about, is from that asteroid about its elliptical orbit around the Sun. As we cross the paths where that orbit, as we intersect the path of that asteroid's orbit, we will run to the leftovers of that once comet. Now, as I mentioned, there is a 73% illuminated moon this year. Usually we can expect to see as many as 125 meters per hour. However, tonight the moon is dramatically limiting our views of the Geminids, as most tend to be quite faint. Hold on, let me work to get that stream back. Hey guys, I'm going to coordinate to see if we get that live views back. Sorry about that, guys. Just a quick network error. We should be back now. Jeff wanting to know, how fast is 35 kilometers per second in miles per hour? Are we talking the speed of light? No, fortunately we're not talking the speed of light. I think if anything moving at the speed of light, even the size of a pebble would cause significant damage. That being said, 35 kilometers per second is 50 miles per second. I'm not exactly sure. 50 or 60. It's pretty significant. Let's just say, let's be thankful we have an atmosphere to protect us from things like this. And just to give that previous value in something that's relatable to people in the United States, 35 kilometers per second is roughly 80,000 miles per hour. For those complaining they can't see anything, have patience, my friends. They will just give it a few minutes. They don't all come at once. Sometimes I've actually noticed they tend to be clustered. Like you'll see a bunch of them at once, and then you'll have just a hiatus. If you're tuning in now, we did see quite a few when we were beginning the stream, so we're just waiting for them to come back. They'll appear as little flicks of light in the image. Now, this will be the last live stream of the year for us here at High Point Scientific. However, we anticipate even more live streams next year. As we wrap up 2021, we've definitely had a very exciting year in the nighttime sky. We had the lunar eclipse in May 2021, which absolutely dazzled those along the west coast. We then had a partial solar eclipse that was visible over the northeastern United States in June. For those who got to see that, I am incredibly jealous of you, by the way. I love seeing solar eclipses. I plan to see them all. And then, of course, we had the partial lunar eclipse on November 19th that was live streamed here on High Point Scientific, as well as the one in May. That was an absolutely fantastic success, and it was so exciting to have so many people tuning in that night as well as tonight. And then followed by the Geminids tonight. Now, as exciting as 2021 has been, we're really excited for 2022. 2022 promises to be a very exciting year for astronomy. There will be 2 lunar eclipses in 2022, one in May and another in November, the usual annual meteor showers. And what I'm really excited about is seeing Mars reach opposition with the Earth. Mars is my favorite planet in the nighttime sky, so every 2 years Mars comes around its orbit, and as it reaches what's called opposition with the Earth, then is the best time to actually observe Mars. And I have seen Mars through my telescope multiple times, and each time it's absolutely beautiful. But that's what you can look forward to in 2022. We've had great live streams this year, and we anticipate in 2022 to have even better live streams. And this is entirely thanks to your support. Having so many people tune into these live streams is really good, and it's really exciting for us. And we're so glad to have each and every one of you here. And personally, I love just talking to people. I love talking to you guys about astronomy in the nighttime sky. Now, on the note of years, we're excited to be ending the year 2021 with the launch of NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. The James Webb Space Telescope will be launching in just a few days on December 22nd, and I could not be more excited. It'll be the most massive and complex space telescope ever launched into orbit around the Earth. Webb is an infrared telescope, meaning that it can look deeper into the past than Hubble could, as most galaxies are redshifted towards the infrared part of the electromagnetic spectrum. This is a result of the expansion of the universe, which is accelerating. The further back you look into space, the more redshifted galaxies are, thus the further the acceleration and consequently the distance. James Webb will be able to look at extrasolar planets in a way we've never been able to see before. It'll also be able to probe chemicals in the atmosphere of extrasolar planets, looking for trace gases known as biosignatures that could indicate signs of life. And I just want to talk about the James Webb Space Telescope for just a few minutes. Hope I didn't miss any meteors there, but I am incredibly excited for this mission, and that will be launching on December 22nd, the last event of this year as far as stuff going on in space, but by far the thing I'm most excited for, because Hubble completely transformed our understanding of astronomy and the nighttime sky. And James Webb will just bring so many exciting discoveries. There's so much to see out there in the universe that we just simply haven't seen yet. And I cannot wait for that December 22nd. But yeah, again, if you're just tuning in, we're a bit of a hiatus right now. We saw quite a few at the beginning of the stream, but we haven't seen any recently. I figure they happen when I talk, so if I just keep talking, they'll happen. And they're pretty bright. They're as bright as the stars in the constellation of Orion over there, so they're hard to miss when they do happen. Part of it might also be because of the clouds that are rolling in. Unfortunately, these high-level clouds just rolling in, kind of obscuring some of the fainter ones, but we should be able to see some of the brighter ones. And again, we have that moon as well. But this live stream won't pick up nearly as many as you will be able to see with the naked eye, so if you're listening to this live stream, if you have a clear night and you're comfortable with doing so, go outside and take a look at the Geminid Meteor Shower. Again, if you're looking for the constellation of Gemini, it's pretty easy to spot on the eastern horizon just after sunset. You can find it by the constellation of Orion the Hunter, and these are the twins in Greek mythology. So if you want to go outside and look for the Geminid Meteor Shower radiant point, go find the constellation of Gemini. You can find it by looking for the two bright stars representing the twins. These are the stars Castor and Pollux. David sharing a really cool story on Facebook, and they're saying the coolest thing I've ever seen was Comet Hale-Bopp in 1997. I'll give away my age here a little bit and say that I was too young to actually remember Comet Hale-Bopp. So hearing stories about people who've seen bright comets in the nighttime sky, because again, there hasn't been a comet that's been really left an impact like Comet Hale-Bopp since then. So I love hearing the stories about people who got to see that comet. I'm so jealous of you guys. Waiting eventually for our generation's next big comet. We had Neowise last year, and I had hoped Leonard would be something special this year, but it's just has been underperforming. Debbie got to see Shoemaker Levy 9 striking Jupiter through our campus telescope. What a show that must have been. The 90s were definitely the decade of the comets. There was one, guys. That might have been the best one of the night so far. The clouds are starting to thin up a little bit, so we're starting to potentially be able to see some more. Really quickly again, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Keegan, who was graciously again lent us his time to be able to set up his camera in his backyard and show us this view of the nighttime sky. So if you guys can give Tegan a shout out in the comments, I'm sure he'd really appreciate that. He's out there in really cold weather, and I'm really grateful for his help tonight, because without him, these views would not be possible. Again, guys, if you have any questions about the meteor shower or astronomy or anything in general about the nighttime sky, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Just let us know in the comments if anything you'd like me to answer or a shout out or anything like that, and I'd be more than happy to do so. David again sharing a comment story. Hallie's comment was a major deal in 1986. I was 23, but the city lights made it very faint for me. I'll be 98 when it returns. Michelle wanting to know if there's any updates on the DART mission. Now, for those wondering, the DART mission was an asteroid redirect mission launched by a SpaceX Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Air Force Base just a few months ago, and that mission is well underway. Its goal will be to actually impact the moon, a very tiny moon of an asteroid, and to measure over time if that will have any impact on that asteroid's orbit. This information can be used in the future to be able to help us protect from near-Earth objects that might potentially cause harm to the Earth. So DART is well on its way. It's ready to impact an asteroid, believe it or not. Got a question on YouTube, and they're asking, what do you think of the death of Betelgeuse? Will we see it in our lifetime? I'd love to see a daylight supernova. I would too. For those wondering what they're asking about, the star Betelgeuse, or the upper left armpit of the constellation of Orion the Hunter, the orange one that you can see here, is what's called a red giant star. It is a star at the very end of its life that is burning through its hydrogen and helium and will eventually erupt in what's called a core collapse and then a supernova. And that supernova is anticipated to be incredibly bright because it'll be so bright that it'll actually be brighter than the full moon in the nighttime sky. So I hope it does happen. Although I'd be really sad to lose Betelgeuse because Orion is such an iconic constellation, but seeing that supernova would definitely make it worth it. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetimes. It could have already happened. I think Betelgeuse is 70 light years away. So fact check me on that one, I'm not 100%. But that supernova could have happened already, and the light simply may not have reached us yet. And I hope it does soon one day, because that'd be so cool to see in my lifetime. Jamar with the fact check that Betelgeuse is 500 light years away. Thank you, Jamar, for the fact check. I was not 100%. Sarah Ray Powers wanting to know what is the best / most active meteor shower to watch within the year, and that would probably be the Leonid Meteor Shower in August. That by far is the most active, although the Geminids are the second best. The Geminids are actually increasing with time, so over time since they were first observed in 1862, every year they've gotten a little bit more active, and eventually the Geminids will overtake the Leonids as the most active one. As you can see, the skies are finally starting to clear up a little bit, so now might be our best opportunity to see any shooting stars. Selma saying it does not look very active tonight. Again, this was not anticipated to be a huge event because of the moon. The moon is almost waxing full tonight, and as a result, it is very hard to be able to see the fainter ones. Oh, there was one. Cosmos just proved you wrong. There was a very bright one that just went by. Possibly one of the best of the night. For those looking for another celestial event to view in the sky, you can always check out Comet Leonard. But again, that comet is very faint. It's only 4th magnitude. It was hoped that it would get a little brighter due to a phenomenon known as forward scattering, which is basically the contrail being backlit by the light of the sun, thus increasing its visibility to the sky. That being said, that did not occur because the comet did not become very dust rich. It is very gas rich and a very diffuse comet, and it's also been stalling somewhat, so Comet Leonard has not been a good show so far. But that being said, it is visible in a telescope if you know where to look, and seeing a comet's always really cool. Jonathan with a question about the quadrants, and they said they've heard that they're one of the best meteor showers, but they only have 1 meteor per hour. So that meteor shower happens in January, and it happens to have a really high peak. I believe that was the meteor shower that was reported some time ago to have a really what's called storm of meteors, where like thousands were seen in 1 hour, but they have not been seen since. So traditionally, no, that's not the best. What is the best is the Geminids and the Leonids. Christopher saying there's a pair of stars in the constellation Cygnus that are predicted to collide in 2022 or 2023. If/when that happens, it should be visible to the naked eye. Unfortunately, Christopher, I have bad news to report. It turns out that was based on inaccurate data, and it's not likely for that to actually happen in the next 20 years or so. So as much as I would have loved to have seen that, that does not appear likely to occur next year. Another idea I have, something I want to ask you guys listening, and share in the comments your most vivid astronomical event. What do you remember having the biggest impact on you for what you saw in the nighttime sky? For me, it was seeing the 2017 total solar eclipse. I had the opportunity to go out to Tennessee and watch that, and oh boy, nothing has ever left an impact on me quite as much as that solar eclipse. So much so that I want to travel the world just photographing solar eclipses when they happen. So share with us in the comments, what astronomical event do you remember the most happening that left the biggest impact on you? Patty wanting to know, will this live stream be available to watch tomorrow? And absolutely, this live stream will be posted after the fact for anybody to go through and see if they can see any bright shooting stars. Audrey saying, no meteor shower or comet sightings for me, too cloudy to hear. I am so sorry to hear that. Cloudy skies are the worst. We have a question from Jonathan Thompson on YouTube, and they're asking, when is the live stream going to end? I like it, so please do not end until the end of the Geminids. Unfortunately, I'm probably only going to be going for another 30 minutes or so, just for, not to make Tegan out there suffering in 30-degree weather. So we'll probably go for another 30 minutes or an hour or so. seeing some great stories in the comments about all the different celestial events you can see. So jealous of anybody who got to see Hale-Bopp, by the way. That would have been spectacular to see. Michelle asking, do you have a favorite star, nebula, or galaxy? I do. My favorite deep sky object is the Andromeda Galaxy, and my favorite star is Vega. Partially because of the movie Contact. I love that movie. Sarah wanting to know, why do comets go in different directions? Again, a good question, and that is because not all comets follow the same orbital path. Some comets are very, very elliptically bound to the sun, and as a result they have an orbital period of like 80 years, for example, in the case of Halley's Comet. Some comets follow what's called a hyperbolic orbit or a parabolic orbit, and those comets follow a completely different trajectory. And comets can come in from any which direction. Most of them come from what's called the Oort cloud, that is a cloud of debris thought to exist about 1,000 astronomical units away from the sun. And what ends up happening is a passing star, or perhaps even an unknown planet for all we know, or a rogue planet even, disturb the orbits of these comets as they go about their orbit around the sun, and that causes them to speed up just enough that they end up falling towards the sun, and they end up falling towards the sun in a bunch of different directions. So that's why the comets appear to travel in different directions. There is one comet that will always follow a consistent orbit that you can see twice in your lifetime, again, that being Comet Halley. If you're wondering what you're looking at here on the right-hand side of your screen, you can clearly see the constellation of Orion, and in Greek mythology, Orion was known as the Hunter. You can see the 3 stars making up the belt of Orion. Perpendicular to the belt of Orion, you can also see the sword of Orion, and within that sword, you can see the Orion Nebula. Next to the constellation of Orion the Hunter, you can see the 2 stars, Castor and Pollux. These 2 are the brightest stars in the constellation of Gemini. Again, Gemini is the radial point tonight for this meteor shower, so to find the constellation of Gemini, look for the constellation of Orion, and next to it you'll find it right there. Again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Kyle. I'm with High Point Scientific, and these views are being provided to you by Tegan in Cincinnati, Ohio, who has once again graciously taken his time to be able to help us live stream beautiful celestial events. Again, we'll be taking your questions about astronomy in the nighttime sky, but if you will do me a favor, if you're just tuning in, to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube. It really means a lot to us. It also helps get the word out about astronomy in the nighttime sky. If you're watching on Facebook, please feel free to share to your friends and your family. Get the word out, get people excited about astronomy. It's what we love to do. David wanting to know, would you classify this as an average number of sightings? I'd say this is about what we can reasonably expect just for our setup tonight. The naked eye, the human eye, can resolve so much more than just a camera. But again, we also had the moon fighting us tonight, so that's blocked out a lot of the fainter ones. So I'd classify this as average tonight. People have been saying they've been seeing a lot more than on the stream with the naked eye, and that makes sense. Jeff Nash wanting to know, any scientists know how old the universe is? That's a good question. We know the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and we know that by what's called the expansion of the universe, the acceleration of the universe, and Hubble's constant. We're able to show that the universe had a beginning, and that beginning happened at roughly 13.8 billion years in the past. This is one of those things the James Webb Space Telescope will help narrow down a little bit, as it'll be able to observe distant galaxies, and it'll be able to help paint a better picture of the early stages of our universe. But to answer your question, the universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old. I spy something in plain sight. You can see a nice plane going across the field of view right there. I see a question on YouTube asking, what do you think the best focal length would be to capture? And I think the best focal length would probably be as low as you can possibly go. Right now we're using a 28mm lens to be able to bring you these views. I would go for anywhere from 14 to 28. Hey Bob, Kyle is still here, just for your information. Just hanging on, waiting for some meteors. Nicole's asking, I just got home and walking in and saw some shooting stars. Hopped on YouTube and found your live stream. Does anyone know when the peak time is for the Northeast? The peak time will be roughly around 2 or 3 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So, still got quite a ways, but it won't be like a massive peak. It'll be a gradual build-up. And most of the time you'll be looking up, you'll probably see something like this. Chompy says, am I seeing things, or was that one in the right corner? That probably was. Hey guys, Kyle here again. Know I've been a little quiet, but haven't had much to say. I will say we will be wrapping up in just a few minutes. Again, this will be our last live stream of the year for us here at High Point Scientific. However, we anticipate having more live streams next year. We hope to be able to live stream the next new moon, to be able to see some of the different deep sky objects that we can see in the month of January. And we will, of course, also be live streaming the lunar eclipse next year. Again, you've been watching a live view of the Geminid Meteor Shower. And the Geminid Meteor Shower is, again, one of the best meteor showers of the year. They originated from the Apollo asteroid 3200 Phaethon and were first observed in the year 1862. Since then, every year, the number of shooting stars seen per year has increased. Now, Phaethon is a unique object in that it is not in a circular orbit, nor is it a comet. It is a former comet, an asteroid, that is going about an elliptical orbit around the sun. As a result, the Earth will occasionally pass into, or occasionally, annually, will pass through the trail of that former comet, and we get to see the debris and the leftover from that. So that's the origin of the Geminid Meteor Shower. Again, go outside if you haven't had the opportunity to already see that. It is absolutely beautiful to see. Again, don't forget to check out the launch of NASA's James Webb Space Telescope coming up in just a few days. Really excited about that one. That'll be on December 22nd. I believe it's 7 a.m. Eastern. And again, the James Webb Space Telescope will absolutely revolutionize our understanding of the universe and the nighttime sky. But again, my name is Kyle. As always, it has been an absolute pleasure to stream with each and every one of you, and we'll be signing off here now. And always remember to keep looking up. Thank you.